I'm joined by our international affairs editor, Philip Turle. Hi, Philip. So, after 4 weeks, why have the Russians not taken control of Ukraine?
Well, this is certainly not how it was intended to be, I think, in the eyes of Vladimir Putin when he launched this offensive on the 24th of February. Remember the statements that people were saying that Vladimir Putin thought he would roll in with the tanks and the Ukrainians would roll over and they would be greeting Russian forces with flowers. That hasn't happened. This is the state of play at the moment in the map here. You can see there is some advance in the southeast of the country and in the north, but the major part of Ukraine is still not under Russian control, and only one city, Kherson, which is in the south, just north of the Crimea, is in the hands of the Russians. So it's been a much slower process than Vladimir Putin expected, and I think principally because he misjudged two issues. The first one was that he did not think the West would be so united in its rebuke of Russia's actions, notably NATO and the European Union. And the second was that I think he also underestimated the resistance within Ukraine itself, the willingness of the Ukrainian people to fight back, to set up anti-tank traps, to rebuke all efforts by Vladimir Putin to come into the country. You have to remember that Vladimir Putin actually said that for him, Ukraine didn't exist. And if you go back to a statement he made back in 2007 at the Munich Security Conference, you can see even then that he has intentions of reuniting Russia with its former empire. He's now looking forward to his legacy in the future and what people will say wants to be known as Vladimir the Great, and bringing Ukraine back in to the former Russian empire that he wants to rebuild was one of his key aims. Well, it hasn't worked out that way after 1 month of conflict.
Well, of course, it's impossible to predict what might happen, but what are the possible scenarios?
Well, there are several. I mean, there are three main scenarios. The first one is that negotiations will eventually take place, negotiations which Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, has asked for time and time again. For the moment, Vladimir Putin does not seem receptive to that because I think on the ground, Russia feels it has more to win on the ground than it has around a negotiating table. It will push forward with its advance and then maybe will negotiate later. But Vladimir Putin does not want to negotiate. He is a man who will only go forward with a show of force. The second one is a long war of attrition. What does that mean? That means that Russia will continue pummeling cities like Mariupol, for example, to try to push the people there to submit, to capitulate, to push forward. This would take months, if not years, to try to flatten Ukraine, to eventually then take control of it. But the problem is the Russian military is not well enough organized to do that, as we've seen since the start of this war. So that could be a very long, drawn-out process. Will it lead to the use of, for example, chemical warfare or nuclear weapons? That's a red line as far as the West is concerned. I'm sure that's one of the discussion points at the NATO summit, the EU summit, and the G7 meeting in Brussels today. But that is something that is a possibility because Vladimir Putin does not want to give in and is willing to go as far as it takes to take control of Ukraine. And the third one is an escalation of Russia's military arsenal. People have been saying, well, why is it taking so long? Why are the Russians not advancing so quickly? Are they trying to build up their forces to launch a much stronger attack later on? Those are all elements which the West don't know the answer to at the moment.
Okay, our international affairs editor, Philip Turle. Philip, thanks so much for that.